Welcome to the Strategy Mob Podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Strategy Mob. Today, I am interviewing two amazing guests. I'm super excited to actually talk to both these gentlemen. Mr. Farid Ahmad. Did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
Yes. And then Kam Ayrom. I nailed that one too, didn't I?
You did. You nailed it.
Thanks, guys. I'm just warming up. I know my jokes suck here. Okay, fine. All right. Hey, guys, for everybody out there that's listening and watching to us right now and, don't know kind of your guys' origin story or how you kind of got started in the automotive industry, if we can kind of start off with a couple background stories, that'd be super cool. Farid, I'm going ahead and start with you. How did you get started into this crazy little industry we call the automotive industry?
Okay. Well, thanks, Jason. First off, I was born at a very young age. I must point that out before we get started. As you can tell from my accent, it's very British. I actually started my automotive career in the United Kingdom back in 1983. I'm showing my age now. Worked in sales and F&I, worked for their operations in Chicago. While in Chicago, I visited family in Toronto, fell in love with Toronto, and emigrated here in 1991. Started in the retail business. While I was in the retail business running a store here in Ontario, I went through the NADA Dealers Academy and graduated through that as a dealer candidate. And then came back, got married, and I actually started a recruitment business. So I started becoming a headhunter for the automotive industry. And I did that from 1995, and I still have a recruitment agency to this date. But during my process of headhunting, dealers, very good friends of mine, started asking me about, do I know if this dealership's for sale or if this dealership's available? So one thing led to another, and I started getting into the mergers and acquisition in 2012. And today we have North American wide, about 35 members of our team. We sell about 40 dealerships a year. We've done 215 transactions since 2012. And we currently have 47 dealerships for sale across North America. That's a bit about me.
That's awesome. Now, as far as buy and sells go right now, is it still kind of business as usual, or is there quite a bit of difference? Is everyone quiet right now? I guess that's my question.
Jason, I think if you had asked me before the coronavirus, would I expect to be busy? I would have said no. I mean, it's going to shut it down. I can't tell. I've been jammed. My team's been jammed. Lots of inquiries. We've actually closed on 4 dealerships during this transaction. We've sold 7 during the coronavirus. So it's active. I anticipate coming out of coronavirus to be very busy. It's been surprisingly busy.
That's always good to hear. And I imagine with the additional amount of time on people's hands right now, is they can focus on kind of that buy sell, and not have to worry about the day-to-day operations exact same time.
Yeah.
That makes
sense.
Lot
of people are, and I'm sure you're going to get into it, Jason, but a lot of people are looking at reevaluating their assets, deciding which assets to keep, which assets should they be acquiring. So I think this has given dealers a time to step back and just look at their overall entities. Some are thinking, well, this is the time to get off. And some people thinking this is a great opportunity to steal some businesses from dealers that are suffering. So that's the two ends of the spectrum, right?
That is some pretty broad spectrum, but no, that does make sense. I mean, every market has, kind of both a bull and a bear in it, right?
Yes, very true.
Hey, Kam, your turn. You're up, man. For everybody out there watching, listening right now, and don't know that crazy origin story that is Kam Ayrom, what is that origin story?
First of all, Jason, thanks for putting this podcast together, and thanks for having me. It's always great to join your show. Every time I've done it, it's been a blast. So for those of you that don't know me, I started back in 2004. I had a custom wheel shop right out of university. That's what I started. And it was a grind to get customers and get sales. It was truly a grind. And it came to the point that I thought, this is not the right direction for me. This is going to go south real quick. And I needed money. So I wanted to sell my own car. I went to a friend of mine who owned the dealership at the time. And I said, hey, man, things are rough. I need to sell my car. He says, all right, no problem. Leave it here, sign here, and I'll call you when it's sold. 2 days, this was a Wednesday. He called me on Friday. He says, come get your check. Your car is sold. And I said, that's it, that quick? He didn't negotiate on my price. He gave me what I wanted. And then I said, hey, things are good. Are you looking to, can I sell cars? He's like, sure, sell cars. So I started selling cars at the used car lot. I started in July of 2005. And he actually had a son who's older than me, and he used to work at a GM store. In 2009, he came to the store, and he would always make fun of us because we were a smaller car lot. And he says, "Man, I need to work here." And I said, "What happened? You working in the GM store?" And he says, "Man, I don't like those guys. Those guys, they're just always bossing you around, and this is not going to work for me. Screw this." So the next day, after working with me for the first time, because I've been working for his dad for 4 years, he says, "Man, if you want to be in this industry, you gotta go to a new car lot." So the very next day, I had on my vehicle driving it with a demo plate. I drove to the GM store, talked to the guy who fired him, and I got a job and I started working there. So I started literally. So I worked there until 2012, and I got into a Chrysler store as a service manager. And so I saw a different side of the business at a new car lot. And I started really understanding the process. From there, I got into subprime, and I did that for 2 years. And from there, I really had a full understanding of the business from the used car lot side, new car lot operations. And from there, since 2014, I have been going to different dealerships and really providing consultation for sales, service, and finance department. In the last 3 years, I've been working for 50 plus franchise dealerships in BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, really trying to share and tweak their programs and processes from what I see from top performing dealerships.
That's awesome. And I know your commitment to training and best practices is always a big part of what you do. Speaking of that, I imagine your current norm has to be a little different. I mean, you're like me. I mean, we're road warriors, right? We're on the road all the time, exactly, going from dealership to dealership. So let's start out with that, Kam, for yourself. What does that current norm look like for you right now?
So I'm being a true salesperson. I'm very passionate about sales guys. And typically on a normal day, I'll go to a different dealership and I'll work with different sales guys. Right now, a lot of them have been laid off and they're not really working. So the norm has changed drastically. First couple of weeks, it was more so about what's going to happen, where we're going to go, what's the next stage. A lot of people were just sitting at home waiting for things to reopen and go back to normal. And I think now that we are 4 to 5 to 6 weeks into this virus, now people are trying to understand, okay, well, maybe we need to think about a new norm. Maybe there will be a new norm. And there are a couple of dealerships that right now, this week and past week, I've been working with. These are dealerships that they sell 200 plus vehicles per month. And right now, one is tracking to do about 150, and the other is tracking to do 100 plus units for this month, which is amazing. Both of these guys, these stores, they have drastically cut their advertising budgets just because the avenues that they were advertising has changed. Like, for example, a lot of people they don't want to touch newspaper. They're scared to touch their mail that they get in the mailbox. So those type of things have changed. And I was looking at reports of the AM radio stations in the morning, and those ratings have gone up. They're getting more audience. So the campaigns and the spots that we ran there, they're doing better than they ever did before. And of course, digital advertising and any strategies with digital advertising, those are as effective as ever been. It's pretty cool. And for me, again, like you mentioned, that I go to the stores, and that's what I've been doing the last 2-3 weeks. Just really go and observe and see what the feel is on the front lines of the stores. And I have seen dealerships that they've changed their physical look of their door, where before you had to go and open the door to get in. Now those doors are not there anymore, and there are automated sliding doors. But as soon as you approach it, it's contactless, and it opens and you go inside. And that makes you feel good. Like for me personally, even when I want to go shop, the first thing I do, I say, oh man, how am I going to open that door? I'm going to wait till someone's coming out so I can just sneak right through. So I really think the new norm has already arrived. And for those dealerships that have not jumped on board to try to come up with new strategies from start to finish, from how you present your dealership, from your branding, from how you market your vehicles, you market your sales department, your service department, all that, everything that I think dealerships need to rethink it, revise it. And the book hasn't been written yet, so there is no right or wrong. It's really what you think is going to work. And I'm excited, man. I've been as excited as ever. I haven't had this buzz in me in a very long time. So I look forward for the next, at this time, I said I look forward for the next 90 days.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the next 90 days are going to be super interesting. I mean, right? And I love the fact that you said, like, the book hasn't been written, which I think is one of the best things about this time frame. I mean, like, we can stay positive. I mean, there's enough podcasts out there and webinars that are focusing on the negative. We can stay positive for this one, right? But like, I do believe that there is a lot of opportunity here. I keep calling it the new norm. I actually had someone challenge me the other day and actually go, Jason, it's not new, right? It's just, it's what it should have been evolved to for a very long time. I mean, the concept of 100% online purchase or a touchless delivery, that's not a new concept. Like this, Carvana's been doing this for years. I mean, when I ran a BDC 15 years ago, all right, like we drop ship Corvettes all over the country, sight unseen, we drop ship them, people picked them up. So I think what it is now what we're actually doing is, as an industry, we're going to be forced to actually do our sales efforts and our service efforts the way the customer wants to do it, not necessarily the way that we want to do that, which I think will fundamentally change the kind of the design of the dealership. Cam, you mentioned earlier, how many employees do you really need? Floors have been flooded. I mean, we've used that term for many years, right? Like we just need another body on the floor. Like, but now it's more focused on the process, not necessarily just having all these additional hands and bodies. And I think it's going to fundamentally change things. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that, of kind of how you think that's going to change the look of the dealership. Farid, I'm going to start with you on this. How do you think, all this changes the look of the dealership moving forward?
A lot of people have talked about that. And look, I don't think anybody has a crystal ball, number one. But I think if I had to give you my best guess estimate, I think not that much is going to change, unfortunately. I do think that we're going through a time where dealers are going to really rethink their digital strategy for sure. But old habits die hard, and I worry if we're going to look at this in our rearview mirror in 6 months' time and get back to the same old good old way of doing business. I don't think we're out of business long enough for a dramatic change in the way we do business. There's all sort of speculation that we're going to be sort of realigning around May 15th towards the end of May. So I don't know if that's enough time to do a cultural change that the business could use, which is learning how to be more digital friendly. But my thoughts are, from the dealers that I know, they're just waiting back to get customers through the door, deliver the car, ring the bell, and away we go.
No, I'm with you on that. I think it may not be enough time. Now, the one thing I did notice, going through the recession, were OEMs, or at least a handful of OEMs, were very well prepared for this. In fact, almost so prepared, I was like, did you have that sitting in your back pocket? You know what I mean? Like, there was this message of empathy and that we're here for you within like hours, it almost felt like.
So I can't disclose which manufacturers, but there's 4 manufacturers that I know have got have made a huge commitment to supplying the vehicle themselves and doing the whole process electronically. And these are not Mickey Mouse manufacturers. These are some mainstream manufacturers. When they start getting into this field, that's the kind of action that's going to shift. You're going to see a dynamic shift, and it's coming. And I think it's going to be as early as this year, a major manufacturer is going to announce that they are going to retail cost.
I agree with you, and that was some of the biggest changes we saw during the recession. It was not necessarily the dealerships that had huge changes, is that there were a lot of changes at the OEM level after the recession. Now, I have to say this real quick, and this is what I love about doing podcasts. I get to say whatever the hell I want whenever I want to say it. I love having British guests on here because you guys get to use terms like Mickey Mouse. It's just like, it's not the first time I've had a British guest on here that's used the term Mickey Mouse when talking about something. Right. So it's like the best thing ever.
If I could add one thing to what I've said, Tesla has been, in some respects, the envy of the automotive industry, quite frankly. Everybody was gambling that they never could do it, and they bucked the system. And then Hyundai Canada decided that they were going to have the Genesis model all direct manufacturer to consumer. And that has been successful for Genesis. That has changes. Will this propel that? I think so, but I don't think we're going to wake up tomorrow morning and who needs a dealership building anymore? I think there's too much desire, passion, and love for an individual to walk into a dealership after they've done the research on the internet, feel it, touch it, smell it, go through the I enjoy it. I just bought a car a few months ago. I love the experience. I could have bought it online. And maybe I'm an old fogey, not like you young guys, whippersnappers. I mean, I'm 107 years of age, for crying out loud. But being the old school, I think I speak for a lot of people. It's actually a pleasurable experience sometimes, walking into a store, smelling that new car, beating on the salesman, knowing the sales manager is going to come and beat on you. It's fun. It's a fun process.
No, I agree with you. I think there are people out there that do enjoy this. And Cam, actually, I'm going to set you up for this next question here, because I think the one thing that will fundamentally change, I think moving forward, a lot of dealers are thinking right now, can I continue to do what I'm doing with less? I mean, and also from a customer's perspective, I mean, look, I know customers, and even myself, I enjoy coming into the physical place, right? And I appreciate all the time, money, and effort and it takes to crafting out these big, beautiful buildings and these processes. But the fact that I have to deal with 4 different people, sometimes 5, to make a purchase, and I have to connect with someone, and then I got to reconnect with somebody, and then I got to reconnect with another person, and then another person. I'm like, is that really needed? from customer's perspective, and then from an operations perspective, do we really need that many people to process a singular transaction? Cam, what are your thoughts on that?
It's very interesting that you say that. So, and Farid said, old habits die hard, and it's so true. So one of the things at the dealership that I'm sure we've all heard, if you wanted your store to sell 200 cars a month, you would need 20 salespeople to produce 10 each, and that's your 200. I mean, if you have 12 guys on the floor and you're expecting to sell 200, well, I'll tell you what, you're not on the right path. It's not going to work. But now in this era, that has completely changed. One of the stores that I'm working with right now, they're sitting at 72 units. They have done that with 4 salespeople and 1 sales manager. This never happened a month and a half ago, but it's happening today. And 1 finance manager. So the era is changing. Things are changing. I think a lot of the back and forth, like the 5 people process step that you got to go through, the salesperson, the sales manager, the finance manager, all that I think is going to be, it's going to, revolve. It's going to change. And of course, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen at every scale, at every dealership in every town. But this is going to be a major shock. I think this is going to really change things going forward. We're going to have new, it's going to be post-COVID-19 processes. And we're going to have sales guys that are going to be coming to the industry right now that they will never know what the old way of selling cars was. I'm lucky enough that I used to be around when we used to advertise on newspaper. That was huge. I remember Auto Trader guy used to come out, even physically himself, take pictures and go make your ad and post it on newspaper. And when a customer came with a newspaper under their arm, if you were smart enough, you'd want to see which vehicles have circled around, and you'd know from there if they're going to be shopping or not. There are guys right now selling cars that they were never around during that era, because it's all been online for the last 10 years or 15 years. So I think those things will come into place going forward. And I already know dealerships that are doing their negotiation. It's funny, this happened last week at a store that I was at. They're using a platform, and the customer gets to negotiate on their cell phone, and everything, the whole worksheet that you go back and forth that you sign, they're sitting there, they're sharing a link, and they just tell the customer, update your link, and they update it, and it's a new offer there. Or if customer had new questions, the dealership, the sales manager gets a notification because customer has a new desire. They want more money for their trade, or they want the payments to be this much. It's all done over the phone. And once it's all done, the same link they can sign through their cell phone. So they don't even need to grab a pen to go sign documents. So I don't know what exactly is going to be the new process, but I think there will be new platforms, new services, new ways of being able to buy a vehicle, even when you go at a dealership physically to feel it, touch it, and smell it, that new car smell. The other thing that comes to my mind, and this happened 10, 12 years ago with online shopping, and that was drop shipping. When drop shipping was introduced, it changed the whole ball game. All these massive warehouses that, they would have, I don't know if you were selling laptop batteries, you've had hundreds of thousands of inventory, which is a lot of money, and you would have it in just a simple warehouse so you could ship it, and you'd have a shipping department. Now all that is gone. Now drop shipping is the only way to do it. I think something very similar is going to take shape in the auto industry. Out here, in Canada and the States, ADESA is a pretty big source for dealerships to supply their vehicles and move their vehicles around. It's an auction site, and they have massive facilities, and they are running programs for the dealerships that if you are regularly running cars and buying cars, they will allocate 50 to 100 spots to your dealership. So you can leave your cars there, and with the way our sales team on the front lines are selling cars right now, it's more so getting the customer what they want, how they want it. The customer may say, hey, I'm looking for a short-term loan, and I want an SUV, and I want to spend about $300 max. And, we said, well, taxes, that okay, your budget is $500. That's what you can get. They don't really care if it's exactly the specific vehicle. They're open to different options as long as it as a whole is a complete package for them. And what do the salespeople do? They go select a few options. They send off emails, pictures, walk around videos, and customers say, hey, I like this one. And now more so than ever, they rather the vehicle to be dropped off at their house, leave it there for 48 hours. If they like it, they like it. If they don't like it, dealership will come back and pick it up. I have seen lots of this. And sometimes, like Jason said, this is not so much how we want to do business because we lose control. However, this is what our customers want. And I think that's where it's going to go.
Well, and I think we have to learn and figure out how to do it quickly, right?
Yes.
Like I said, I was saying earlier, I do enjoy going into the dealership, right? I bought my Nissan Armada this last summer, okay? The dealership is about 4.5 hours away from me. And, I went there one time, to check out the few used ones that they had. I picked out one. I asked them if I could do an extended test drive, because this was a pretty big vehicle, much bigger vehicle than my family was used to driving, so I was like, they're like, yeah, sure, absolutely. I did that. And then the rest of the actual negotiating the transaction, the F&I process, we did remotely. and then the vehicle was delivered to me. So it was a hybrid. I still wanted to go to the dealership because I still wanted to shake the hands. I still wanted to meet the person. I wanted to put, face to face. But then I was totally comfortable doing the girth of the transaction, remotely. And I find right now we're actually forced to have to do, 70, 80, 90%, if not only almost 100% of the entire transaction, depending on the province or state that you live in. All right. 100% of it, from a distance, which I think fundamentally changes the way staff and the dealerships have to learn how to communicate. For in the past, we've trained for years about how to communicate with someone face to face. And then we spend a little bit of time about how to communicate on the phone. And then we almost spend no time training on how to actually communicate with an internet lead. Farid, I'm sure you remember before internet leads, you got the fax machine leads. Remember those?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Faxing in credit applications. Oh my God.
Right? We did everything. We did everything through fax.
In the world at the time. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily like a new concept. It's just the tech is changing, and the customers always kind of wanted to have this ability to decide how much of the transaction they do inside the dealership versus how much they do it on their own place. And I think that will fundamentally change the way that we hire people and the people we employ. And Farid, I'd actually like to get your thoughts on this.
Sure.
Is, how does my, as far as like building out my new team, all right, I don't think it's enough that we're just hiring warm bodies, because I think when we come back to our new norm, warm bodies is not acceptable. How do we start building this new team, and what are we looking for in an employee now?
Well, I think if dealers thought about that very question, and I don't think enough do, unfortunately, but this unfortunate circumstance called the coronavirus really should be seized upon by dealers to do a thorough analysis of their need, of what they should have in their stock. They should use this time, and hopefully some of them are, analyzing who they've got, who are they going to definitely bring back, and who should they need. There's never been a better time for a dealer to use a blank sheet process and say, what is my dealership going to look like in the future? And Kam was alluding a bit to that about all this technology that's being introduced. Well, if you ever want to see, dealerships move on a month-to-month basis. That's as far as they see is the end of the month. This is the one time in maybe their lifetime they're really going to be able to really reassess staffing needs, advertising needs, technology needs. So I hope a lot of them take this opportunity. It's not too late, and I really hope so.
Farid, I'm curious, because you guys evaluate and run numbers on so many dealerships out there.
Yeah, over 900.
Okay, just a few. From a labor perspective, labor is one of the biggest expenses for a dealership, is it not?
True, very much so. One of the things when we're looking at evaluating a business, we're looking at the evaluation of the business for two purposes. One, what can the person that owns the current asset walk away with? And number two, where are the cost savings for the newer person that acquires it? Because everybody's trying to look at the upside of an opportunity. And one of the first things we come to is, tell us about your key employees. Why do you have so many people in? So yes, it's very, very true, Jason. Very good point.
Do you see, let's call it fat? Are dealerships pretty, girthy when it comes to labor and employees? Is there just too much of it?
Well, what we call it in our industry is we go profit hunting. When we evaluate a business, we say, where is the hidden profit in your business? And that normally circles around such things as door rates. Do you have enough, as Kam was saying, enough salespeople for the ratio of the cars you want to sell and plan to sell? Is your F&I where it should be? So a lot of that circles around that issue. So you're very right again, Jason.
the doing more with less kind of concept that we were just talking about, I mean, how is that going to affect the way that we evaluate a dealership as far as putting a dollar on it?
You know, we've been discussing this as a team. We constantly get together and review this. I think the changes in our evaluation when it comes to doing more with less is going to be, what are the minimums? What can you get away with? You know, one thing a dealer is very good at doing is they're very good at hiring people, and especially during times are good. When times are bad, they have a very hard time getting rid of people when they really should have done that a long time ago. So our process is all ratio based. How many technicians do you need per service advisor? How many bays do you have? How many hours can you sell in those bays? So it's all ratios. And we take the emotion out of it. And it's easy for me to say that. I don't employ 100 people in their families, but dealers, in the future of evaluations for us, it's all going to be about minimalistic value and expenses in a business.
And I think the dealerships that have done that are the ones that are doing okay, and they're going to get by right now. And the ones that didn't practice that are truly struggling. Okay, guys, that's a good segue kind of into my next topic here. And Cam, this is more for, I'm going to start off with you on this, is from a messaging perspective. Okay. The messages that we share with our employees, the messages that we share with our customers, I'm finding kind of dealerships at kind of a standstill when they're figuring out like what message should they be sharing right now, and you know, what messages should they be preparing to share. You know, Cam, do you have any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest things when you work at a dealership, when you're running a dealership, is to give your team and employees a clear message as far as where you stand. I think with this scenario that we're having right now, no one really knows the clear answer. However, the fact that to make it clear that, hey, we acknowledge this is what's happening. We know that we had to get rid of certain positions. We used to have these many finance managers on duty. Now we have half. We used to have 4. Now we have 1. So I think it's very important to have a clear message as far as, hey, we don't have 4, we have 1, but we are going to save a deal every morning. Instead of doing it every Tuesdays and every Fridays, we're going to do it daily to ensure that your deals are being looked after and nothing is going to fall off the crack. It's to ensure them that, yes, we are running with fewer employees, but the job is getting done. If you have a customer who's looking to buy a car, every step will get done. The first week, I had stores that they were selling cars, but they wouldn't detail because they didn't have any detailers to detail the cars. And the salesperson will say, well, it's not my job to go and wash the car. I mean, they will go ahead and do it just because that's what salespeople do. They get it done. They want to get that commission. But I think it's those things that it's important to have a clear message that, hey, this is our plan. This is what we're doing for the next 2 weeks, for the next 10 days. And I think the clear message as far as where the dealership stands as a team is very important for the core confidence of the team and their demeanor.
I'm with you on that. I totally agree. I think, you know, it's key that we're consistent in our communication efforts. And we, you know, I think what it is customers and staff, you know, need to know kind of where we stand before we bring any more information to them. And I think as an industry that we're not doing a super great job of that right now. You know what I mean?
No, in this industry, unfortunately, I think that's one of the things, especially for me, when I go to different stores as a third person, as an outside person, it's very easy for me to see that we're not great at communicating. Like, for example, as part of on the sales floor, again, I talk to sales so much because that's what I do. I see so many times the salesperson comes to a sales manager when they're desking a deal, and the sales manager gets frustrated, says, just leave it with me. I'll go talk to the customer. And that is a true definition of lack of communication, where that salesperson simply doesn't know because they've never been trained. They've never been shown how to do it. And that salesperson will never improve in that specific category, whether it's explaining why the value of the trade is so low, or explaining to them why their monthly payment, it just doesn't make sense. It can't be $500 a month when they're buying an $80,000 vehicle. It's just that it comes down to communication. So I think it's important to communicate the right message to your staff, because they are the people that will be talking to your customers. And if they don't have a clear understanding of where the store stands, they can't pass on that message to your customers. And I think that's really important. If you explain to your customer, hey, this is how we're going to practice social distancing when it comes to buying a vehicle, that with confidence, then the customers feel more confident that, hey, this is where I want to do business, because they have processes in place to make me and my family comfortable as far as coming into the store and looking at a vehicle and test driving and buying. So I think a clear message is a very important subject and topic to talk and also share within the store's culture.
No, I'm with you, Kam. I think we need to lead with the process first before someone even wants to hear what we have to offer. Hey, Farid, I've been speaking to a lot of dealerships, lately, a lot of dealer principals, and I have a fair amount of them that, the idea of selling their dealership is becoming not such a small idea, but now more of a bigger idea. They've gone through now a couple of these ups and downs, and the stress is building, and I'm getting a lot of not everyone, but I'm getting a handful of what the hell am I doing? Why am I doing this? Is there something else I should be doing here?
Right. Right.
So for the dealerships out there they're in that place, mentally, right, and thinking about entertaining the idea of selling their dealership, maybe more so now than they have in the past. What advice would you give them right now?
I think the first bit of advice, if somebody spoke to me today and said, I'm really reevaluating whether or not I should be in business anymore, I want to keep my business, I'd say today you shouldn't look at selling. Today is not a good time to think about selling your business. But I would say in 6 months' time, it would be a very healthy conversation.
During those 6 months, Farid, what should they be doing to prepare? Because I find that sometimes people think that a sale, the idea of selling happens, and it's just okay, I'm going to sell my dealership today, but it's not like that. There's actually a process.
Yes, very much.
That should actually be followed. What would you recommend, for someone who may be closer to that edge of saying, yes, I want to entertain it. Right. What are the things I should be doing to prepare for the next 6 months?
Well, I ask dealers a very simple question they can relate to. Is your dealership a clunker that really needs to go to the scrapyard, or is yours a hidden gem? They'll normally always say, my dealership's a hidden gem. Right, well, we're going to have to get it into the workshop. We're going to have to take the wheels off. We're going to have to see what's broken. We're going to have to fix the basics. We're going to have to make our clients aware of some items that you're just not prepared to fix. You need to detail it. So if you really use the analogy of what would you do with a good quality used car that you're debating, should I keep or should I wholesale? That's how I think dealers should look at their business. Most dealers that have owned the business for many, many years, one of the things that we find when they actually decide to go down the path is they have not looked at their corporate documentation, if they're up to date, if they had a shareholder on the corporation 11 years ago that passed. So we do ask them to start looking at their business from all different. In fact, we have a checklist of what you should really investigate prior to going to the sales stage.
Oh, that's cool. I love the checklist. If anybody that's listening and watching right now, can they reach out to you to get that checklist from you and maybe start getting
Absolutely.
the thought going?
I also, because business is so slow, I'm also a delivery guy for Pizza. So 967-1111 is where you can get a hold of me. If not, my website at DSMA.com. That's where you can always find me. DS, D for David, S for Sugar, M for Mother, A for Apple.com.
That's awesome. Hey, Kam, my next question for you is kind of on that similar, on that same kind of direction, but more at the salesperson level. I don't know about you, man, but I've been having a fair amount of conversations with a fair amount of salespeople that are currently laid off right now that are sitting at home going, do I really want to go back and sell cars? You know,
I tell you what I tell them.
Have you had some of those
I'll tell you-
conversations? It sounds like you have.
Oh yeah, you know what I tell them, and this goes the same thing to those dealers' principles that they want to sell their business. I always tell them, car business ain't for everybody. And if it's not working out for you, man,
That's
the
true.
same for everybody. If it was
You're so right, Cam. You're so right.
if this was easy, everybody would be doing it, and everyone would own dealership. And you know, I mean, honestly, car business has been really good to me, and this is like literally having the license to print money. It just comes down to the perspective and how you see it and how you want to operate it. I'm lucky with the platform that I have. I see both sides of the mentalities. I've actually had dealerships, and the guy says, "Man, I should have sold it 6 months ago when I had that offer." And I also have dealerships, principals are telling me, "Cam, if you know any stores trying to sell, I'm buying. Let me know. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna buy with their inventory, everything. I'm ready right now. I'm not gonna wait till 3 months. I need it right now." So it really comes down to the message. And for the salespeople that you asked me, I tell them same thing. I told these sales guys, find a new way how you can connect with customers. If you're in sales, your ability to turn a prospect into get them what they want. And in our industry is the car, obviously. If you can find a way to communicate that with them and you can reach out to them, you're a winner. You're a winner. That's really what it comes down to. And I've had salespeople that have all they have been selling is people that are in the front lines. I had a salesperson who targeted, and it's not the right way of saying it, but he targeted nurses. And that's all he's been selling. He's loving life. He says, "Man, I should have done this long ago." They've got stable jobs. The banks, they don't even need POI. They're going to basically get them approved right away. And they, as long as I can give them what they want, it's the easiest transaction ever. So it really comes down to the perspective. The businesses out there, people still need buy cars. And now 5-6 weeks into this, people are now just like, I'm going to go back, forget this. I'm going back. I'm going to get back on my feet. People need cars, man. It's just how it is. And if you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying it, this business is not for you. And, you know, we've had tough times in the past, and this is just like that. And I don't even call it a tough time, because any way you look at it, this is the best way to go. Now, more than ever, a salesperson can go and work for 2 different dealerships at the same time. I don't know if you guys have seen this. I have seen it. And because if you go to a dealership right now and say, "Hey, I want to sell cars, so I've got customers for your product," what's the dealer principal going to say? They're going to say, "Go ahead, bring him in. When can you bring him in?" So I have salespeople that they have become more mobile than before. And truth of the fact, and this is fact, their personal relationship has gotten better because they're spending more time at home with their family and loved ones.
Wow.
So it's just, and this is the truth.
That totally makes sense. But, you know, look, we've always kind of talked about this in the past, where it's like either you're solid at prospecting or you shouldn't be in this business, you know. But I do think there's a fair amount of percentage of salespeople out there that just relied on what was coming through the door and never took that time to create their own community and generate their own opportunities. And I think what it is what's that? The cream will rise. I think that's what we're going to see in salespeople here.
Yes.
I think at the end of this, when we come back into it, there's a lot of salespeople that won't be coming back to work. And then there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be coming back, you know, to your point, Cam, the buddy that's just like you had that was like already like it didn't take him any time at all to figure out a prospect strategy. It's like, oh, I know who I'm going to talk to. I know who I'm going to target, right? Hey, guys.
I'll give you one more. Sorry, I'll make it the last one.
Go
This is what's the last one of strategy. Again, this is a true fact. So I'm always huge on telling sales guys, when a customer visits you at the store, right after they leave, before their vehicle pulls out of the driver, send them a text message and say, "Hey, thank you for making time to come see me." I'm a huge fan of that. I'm a huge fan of thanking them or reminding them that, you know, they're important to you as a person. Call them on their birthday. If a simple phone call, "Hey, this is Cam, just called to wish you happy birthday." Those things are important. I've had guys in the last 2 weeks, they have insured a vehicle at the dealership so they could go to the customer and do their groceries for them.
Wow.
Don't want anything out of it. You're my customer. Thank you so much. Right now, business is slow. I can't do much. But hey, I'm still coming to work. The work has given me a vehicle for this purpose. And if you need groceries, call me. I'm going to go pick it up, bring it, drop it off for free whenever you want. And so this guy, because of the reaction, he is in the happiest mindset ever. He's loving it because everyone's thanking him. People are tipping him. And it's just opened up a new door. And at the end of the day, he still sells cars. He still sells cars.
I think that's absolutely awesome. And I think those are the opportunities, right? Like I said, I mean, there's a lot of negative things going on right now, but we can look for the positive. We can look for the opportunities. And it's a huge opportunity now to connect as salespeople or as dealerships, to connect with our community of customers and our staff. I think that's a great way for kind of to end this podcast. But before we go, I get to do my favorite part of the podcast and give you guys both an opportunity to tell the world what is pissing you off. Farid, I'm going to start with you. What is pissing you off?
I'm assuming you're talking directly related to our industry. But I think at times like this, from my perspective for the economy, if there is one thing that concerns me, and I don't think as much pisses me off, but concerns me is that banks may tighten up their lending quite severely, which is going to have a knock-on effect. And where I'm concerned is where the banks fall on this whole coronavirus directly related to the automotive industry. I'm not talking about lending money for financing or leasing a vehicle. I'm talking about for a dealer that wants to sell their business for $10 million. Is there a bank that's going to be brave enough to back a buyer during these times? So I would say my concern is, what is the banks going to do after the coronavirus?
That's a good point. I mean, we saw the same thing happen right after the recession too, where the banks just kind of they just suck themselves into like a turtle within their shell, and they're like, nope. And
that has such a bad knock-on effect. It really does.
It does. It's a domino effect that just it affects way more than just the dealership as well.
100%.
That's a good one, Farid. All right, Cam, you are up, sir. What is pissing you off?
What's pissing me off is those dealer principals, sales managers, salespeople that are sitting at home and waiting to hear, let's come back to work, things are back to normal. That really pisses me off to the core. It's never going back to normal. If that's what you think, you're a fool. Go get a job somewhere else. This isn't not for you, and get out of it. Leave the space for some good people that want to get in the industry.
I love it. Straightforward, direct.
There you go.
Come from that place.
That's right.
Hey guys, for everyone out there that's watching and listening right now and would love to connect with you gentlemen and kind of follow along, learn more about what you do, what is the best way to do so? Farid, I'll start with you.
Again, my website, DSMA.com, or my cell phone, 416-844-5581. It's 24/7. It's surgically attached to my hip.
My man, I love it.
Awesome. Thanks, Farid. All right, Cam, you're up. All right. If anybody wants to connect with you and follow along, what is the best way to do so?
Instagram at Kam Ayrom, KAMAYROM, 24/7. I'm just a phone call away. Let's go.
Awesome. Hey guys, thank you so much for your time today. This was a blast, and I'm glad we were able to connect and do this. Have a good one.
Jason, as I said to you when I saw you in Las Vegas, buddy, keep up the great work. You really inspire people. You keep people engaged. And as Cam says, it's all about information. So kudos to you, man, keeping the industry informed. Good for
Thanks,
you.
man. I appreciate it.
Have a great one, guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.